welcome to EPN. I'm Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest and everything cool every single day. You guys have to cut us some slack on being a little bit late. I don't know which thing is... Oh, it's my phone. It's the Monday after E3. It was a great week. And we did all kinds of very, very fun things. And thank you for following along and watching our rundowns and watching our live streams. It's fantastic to see everybody here. We've got a great rundown and an epic E3 show. We were just doing a little bit of testing with Ben and Steve Tilley and Jose Sanchez. All three of those guys are joining me on the show in a very few minutes. But we got to start with our rundown. And first, we have to say thank you very much to two brand new sponsors. Tyler Fisher, thank you so much, brother. All your love and support on all the chats and the tweets and everything. We love that. Thank you so much. And Marlene, thank you for joining us as well. Let's get started with your rundown. As you know, we spent last week at E3 2018, and the event went over pretty well. The Entertainment Software Association, which runs E3, has revealed that 69,000 people attended the event this year. This includes the 15,000 members of the general public who bought passes online, making it only the second E3 to include regular gamers. Mark your calendars, because E3 2019 is scheduled to take place from June 11th to 13th, once again in the Los Angeles Convention Center. After E3 wrapped up, Activision held their latest Call of Duty World League Global Open event in the Anaheim Convention Center. More than 150 teams from North America, Europe, and the Asia-Pacific region participated, with the team Rise Nation taking home the trophy and earning the title of CWL Anaheim Open Champions. The 2018 Call of Duty World League Championship will come to an end in August. That was an incredible E3, and I want to give a special shout-out to Baruti, Bear Safi, who joined us at EXP, and we streamed live. We also had lots of people from the Vancouver area come down and join us, which was incredible. It was an experiment, which I think was pretty successful, and I think we're going to plan for that a little bit earlier next time, give you guys a lot more heads-up notice. It was also surreal to see people wearing the EPN T-shirts, which we made for the very first time. So thank you to all of those that bought one of those and wore them proudly. It was really cool to see that. I managed to hand out a few of them to some of the EPN team members, and I gave one to Greg Miller, who's been an incredible supporter of what we do here and always has me on Kind of Funny as well. But E3 was filled with lots of great things, and we're going to be talking with our friends Ben Silverman, Jose Sanchez, Steve Tilley, and I'm waiting to hear if Raju is going to join us as well. So stick around for that, or watch the archive of that when you've got some time. Let's move on. Disney and Pixar had a very incredible weekend thanks to the new Incredibles film. The new movie Incredibles 2 earned a better than expected $180 million domestically over the weekend, making it the 8th best opening weekend of all time in North America and the biggest ever for an animated movie. Worldwide, the film is doing just as well and has so far earned almost $250 million. The Pixar films usually do pretty well at the box office, but the fact that Incredibles 2 is also a superhero movie obviously helped, given the popularity of the genre. I was a little bit concerned about this movie. I thought 14 years was a huge time to not have a sequel, and I've always felt that Incredibles, the Incredibles film, the first one, deserved a sequel. These are incredible characters, no pun intended, and it was fun to recapture. I'm going to review the movie a little bit later in this episode, so make sure you come back for that, or you can watch the archive of my review later. One of the good things about the Incredibles 2 taking so long is that the first Incredibles movie has been in heavy rotation for families all over the world since it came out originally. It's honestly my favorite movie in the Pixar lineup. I love the original Incredibles film, but a lot of superhero greatness has occurred since that. It was a really big honor and a treat to see a little bit of the movie early, because Disney came out to Vancouver and showed me some. And I also spoke with Ted Mathot, who is the story supervisor on the film. I loved that whole experience. Congratulations to Disney and Pixar. Very exciting news for The Incredibles, and I hope that this means that we're going to get more from this franchise. It looks like Lego is seeking a license to kill. The toy company is apparently going to create a line of officially licensed James Bond Lego sets. Late last week, they hinted as much on Twitter, saying that they've been thinking about creating special Secret Service models and ending with the hashtag license to build. This is almost certainly a reference to the James Bond franchise, which means we could be getting an official announcement very soon. The next James Bond movie lands in 2019. I predict it is going to happen. I think TT Games is they're based in the UK. They would love to do this. They set themselves up to do this with a lot of the LEGO Dimensions stuff, like the Mission Impossible stuff that they did. I think we're going to get a LEGO James Bond video game in 2019. Are you guys psyched for that? I'm psyched for that. I think that'd be incredible. Imagine all the toys and the cars and the characters, Jaws and Oddjob. Oh my God, I'd love that. Another canceled TV show has been saved by online streaming. Netflix has stepped in to pick up the devilish series Lucifer for a 4th season, a month after Fox canceled the show. This comes just a few weeks after the science fiction series The Expanse was saved by another streaming giant, Amazon, after being canceled by the Sci-Fi Channel. The sci-fi and fantasy genres usually struggle on traditional television, but on streaming services the reverse is true, and they tend to be very popular. The launch date for the new season of Lucifer has yet to be announced. Congratulations to everybody that loves this show. I have not seen Lucifer, but I've heard good things. It's, of course, based on the DC Comics series of the same name, so it's one of the, under the umbrella of all these DC TV shows that are out there. So congrats to everybody involved in that show. I believe they shoot that one in Vancouver as well. And I know that it has lots of fans out there, and it's amazing what, fan petitions can do these days. And it's clear that a lot of these streaming services, they need these they need the buzz around saving these shows just as much as they need the buzz on brand new entities and new properties. This is a great time to be a fan of cool sort of niche-oriented television programming like this. And because it's coming to streaming in such a big way, now I'm very intrigued, and I'm going to try to make some time to see Lucifer, and I hope it's good. And over to another big streaming show, Star Trek Discovery is having a red alert behind the scenes. The series is going through a major shakeup as production begins on the 2nd season. According to The Hollywood Reporter, showrunners Aaron Harberts and Gretchen Berg, who oversaw the 1st season, have been fired amidst disagreements with CBS over the budget. More disturbingly, there are also reports that they were emotionally abusive to the writing staff and other members of the crew, creating a bad working environment. The pair have been replaced by producer Alex Kurtzman, who will take over as showrunner. The 2nd season is expected to begin airing in early 2019. Now, I know a lot of Star Trek fans out there, Blake, Siefkin, do not like this show. And I get that, but I'm a fan of Battlestar Galactica more than I'm a fan of the early Star Trek stuff, and this kind of evokes a lot of the BSG kind of vibes. I enjoyed the 1st season, even though it was ridiculously violent and edgy and just sort of toyed with our emotions that way, but I thought there was some really good work done by the actors and some of the script stuff and some of the crazy, fantasy-fueled science fiction stuff that we saw in there, and the effects were amazing. I'm looking forward to the 2nd season. Alex Kurtzman's got a long career in sort of genre entertainment. Not all of it is universally praised, but yeah, it's if these guys were abusive to their team, that's crazy, and karma will get you. So I hope that the 2nd season is bigger and badder and better, and the budget stuff gets all worked out, because clearly it's an important show to the CBS streaming service and to Star Trek fans, even if they hate it. And one last thing that I want to talk about too, because a lot of this movie news happened while we were at E3 or just before E3. Jeff Johns, who was sort of a key creative at DC Films and has been a huge writer on DC Comics and stuff, he started up his own production entity. He's going to be writing and producing stuff, and I think he's working on the Green Lantern Corps film for the DC Films enterprise, which, fingers crossed for that. I'm a huge Jeff Johns fan. Jim Lee has taken over his position. I'm also a huge Jim Lee fan. And the other news that's starting to, not officially been confirmed, but it sounds like Ben Affleck is out as Batman, and that Matt Reeves, who's going to direct the new Batman movie, which will likely be a trilogy, is going for a younger actor. And I tweeted about this. I really hope they go for an unknown, in much the same way that Gal Gadot and Christopher Reeve impressed us in their roles, embodying these characters and making us totally believe in their characterizations. I want that out of our next Batman. I think that it would be foolish to try to cast a big star like Jake Gyllenhaal or even Armie Hammer, who I think would make a good fit. It would be great for these guys to just find us our Batman and make us believe in both the Bruce Wayne and the Batman performance of this characters, and make that Batman the most interesting character in the movie. Don't make it about the villains being the most interesting and Batman's just predictable and a cliche. Let's be surprised by the performance of this Batman. Okay, soapbox on Batman is off. Let's go back in time and take a look at this day in everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for June 18th. On this day in 2001, a cool new basketball game hit the streets. Developers New FX and EA Canada released NBA Street on the PlayStation 2, combining the gameplay and licensed players of EA's professional NBA series, but giving it the same attitude and atmosphere of inner-city street ball. There were several big changes. For starters, the matches were 3 versus 3, which made them much more personal and fast-paced. Players could also earn trick points by showing off with fancy moves like fake-outs, ball diving, and dunking. As for players, 29 real-life NBA teams were included, but the game only had 5 players from each team on its roster. As a trade-off, you could create your own character or use fictional ones made by the developers. NBA Street was a huge success, appealing to both serious basketball fans and less hardcore gamers who just wanted a fun time. EA followed it up with several sequels, and because the series did so well, they expanded the Street concept to other pro sports franchises like FIFA and NFL, all of which were released under a new publishing label called EA Sports Big. Yeah, we didn't see any EA Sports Big stuff at E3, and I think that was a big missed opportunity for Electronic Arts. We're going to talk about Electronic Arts and everything else that went down at E3 with 3 of my favorite people in the whole damn universe. Ben Silverman is here, Don Fubar, Jose Sanchez is here, your humble king of the world, and sensational Steve Tilley is here with us. Steve has started dancing. I have no reason, I have no idea why, but
because I'm so happy to see you guys again. It's only been a few days.
Well, this was a weird E3 for all of us, right, guys? Because we didn't do our typical get-together in the West Hall and spiel there, but I felt like this is kind of the new flavor of our lives because we're all scattered and trying all kinds of different things. The only person that didn't join us, by the way, is Raju Mudar, who has a day job. and all of us are doing our different kinds of ways to talk about this video game industry. But Steve and Ben were doing lots of writing. Jose, you were doing lots of hosting. But let's get talking about this. That is Ben behind the Pip-Boy mask, by the way. For those, there he is. And,
there he is. Sorry.
And the rad.
This thing smells like VATS, guys. Don't put it on. It smells like VATS.
How are they going to do VATS in Fallout 76?
They're not really doing it.
No? They're just going to avoid it.
No.
Yeah. All right. Let's get talking about E3, and let's talk about quickly about the press conferences in general. You don't have to talk about the EA press conference if you don't want to, Jose, because I know that'd be a little bit weird. But how did you?
I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how do you guys feel the press conferences went down? And we might as well start with Electronic Arts. Steve Tilley.
Don't ask me. I was flying in on Saturday.
Oh, no shit. Okay, you missed it. Okay, Ben Silverman.
So I guess as the only person here who is in the audience and not getting paid by EA, I should probably weigh
Yes. What did you think?
It was kind of set the tone for the week, which was sunburn. That was the tone. The tone for this entire week was sunburn.
Okay.
Like waiting outside, getting sunburned in lines. There was a lot of that. EA Play was like the first one, like 10 in the morning, just people just sweating profusely. But speaking about the actual event, I think they played it pretty safe. They showed off games that we knew were coming. They had one pretty cool reveal with Unravel 2 that was, also setting a tone by companies releasing a game and announcing it and releasing it at the same time. We saw that a few times.
Yes.
And EA kicked that off with Unravel 2. I think that Anthem, which was their big moment, didn't show particularly well at EA Play,
right,
which kind of sucks because the game itself, when you play it, is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun game, and getting hands-on with it is totally different than just watching Casey and a few other folks talk about it on stage. I thought that was a bit of a miss. And then the other thing that bummed me out was that, they had Vince there, they had this new Star Wars game, and they didn't have anything, not a logo.
That was weird.
You
that was
can't
a
really
weird, awkward interaction.
Yeah, you can't do that. And I think we all trust Vince. We trust Respawn. Titanfall 2 is one of the best games I've ever played. Obviously, the other games that Vince has worked on are amazing. So, show us a logo. Show us a concept art. Put them on the stage for a few minutes. It just sort of felt like, they, again, were really conservative. And there wasn't a lot to get super enthused about.
The next one that was on deck was the Xbox press.
Sorry, except Jose. Jose I was enthused about.
Yeah, Jose was fantastic. I think your
crushed it,
goal
guys.
is still going.
And Andrea, our friend Andrea.
It's still going right now, right? And Andrea was great.
My goal was going. I was on a time limit. I made some cringe compilations again this year, so cringe club for life. The streak is still alive. That's my goal, to hit at least one. I'm glad I can do that.
Way to represent EPN, brother.
I was like, hold on, he's like, oh.
So the next one that was on deck was Xbox, and I think that they had a pretty damn good showing, didn't they? It was bang, 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 bang. Steve, what'd you think of the Xbox presser?
Yeah, I like the fact that they've moved over to the Microsoft Theater on LA Live. There, we're not shipping our way out to USC, and it was yeah. I mean, they had a lot of good stuff to show, but the whole Halo Infinite reveal that turned out to be kind of a non-reveal because it's not really a game yet. What we saw was an engine demo, and with nothing like really tied to it yet. So I know they had to show Halo. I don't know, man. I think they're in a tight spot. I think Forza Horizon, sure, looks great. Gears 5, you can play a Gears strategy game. You can play Gears Funko Pops, but I didn't see a lot there that really surprised me. Did you?
The purchase of the 5 teams was a huge deal, but more than that was Phil on stage basically confirming that this year, next year, and for all the years to come, he said the best place to play is going to be on Xbox, and we'll have to wait and see if that's the truth. But just the commitment that we saw from Microsoft that they're not leaving this space, that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and they get a really brief tease of the next gen Xbox.
Yes.
Like, the outline of a box of some kind.
Yeah,
we're working on another console. Breaking news, guys, we're working on another console. But it was interesting. They were the only ones who actually took the step of announcing the fact that, confirming we are working on the next gen Xbox.
Yeah, which I think was pretty damn cool. Now, the next one in line was Bethesda. Jose, what'd you think of the Bethesda conference?
I thought Bethesda was throwing punches. Every You want some more Wolfenstein? Here you go. New Elder Scrolls video. Pow. Here's some new Fallout video. Pow. You want some of that? Some Doom. Pow. Pow. They just came out swinging.
They did hit almost every brand that they have, didn't they?
Yeah. And they launched the Star, whatever.
Starfield,
a new IP from Bethesda.
Yep.
Like, okay, I feel like a lot of the best announcements at E3 came with little or nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they announced a new Star Wars game at EA with nothing, no assets. They announced that they're working on a new Xbox. Here's a shadow of a box.
Yeah.
Bethesda's like, here's a space.
We are definitely
a new IP.
We're going to definitely talk about that in sort of our best of E3, because I almost feel like we need to start categorizing our favorites with things that actually are finished games or feel like they're going to be playable games, because as we know now, there's so much speculation about, and things change so much from what is promised to what we actually get,
I think Bethesda was a lot of sizzle and not a lot of steak. I mean, they showed all these like cool.
If you're vegetarian,
it's kind of like a lot of sizzle and not a lot of tempeh. I guess you would say, maybe some tofu. It was a lot of there was a lot of stuff. But then when you go to their booth, when I went to their booth at the show, there was not a lot of stuff.
No.
Like, you couldn't play Fallout there. They obviously didn't have any of these other games. They didn't have Wolfenstein. They didn't have this. It was like Rage 2.
You could play Elder Scrolls Blades.
And Elder Scrolls Blades. They had 2 games that you could actually experience at their booth. So it reminded me a little bit of those Sony press conferences that we loved a few years ago, where they just were like, Shenmue, here's a Final Fantasy for you. Like, let's just think about things people love and then not really let them experience it.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of like they're proving that they're here. They're a big publisher. They've got lots of big properties. They've got Todd Howard. He is locked up. He's a great speaker and makes the best games in the world. And then just don't go to the show because there's nothing to see there.
Yeah, a lot of promise, but we have a long wait for a lot of stuff. Let's talk about the Square Enix video. This was the first time that they did a showcase in 3 years. What'd you think of the Square Enix stuff, Ben?
Not much. I didn't really pay a great deal of attention. I mean, the biggest thing
I clearly asked the right 3 people to our conference.
Listen, the biggest thing Square Enix has, going for them that I've been excited about is the new Tomb Raider game, and I think that game, it doesn't always show great. They spend a lot of time on Laura being sort of this. Batman, like a even grumpier Batman in a way. She's now just like murdering everybody.
Yes.
She's just like, like she's just. I mean, that was a lot of this. There's a lot of stabby bits in the show in general, but I think that's the direction she's going. I do like that with that game, they're showing sort of the ramifications of that.
Yeah.
How she's going to be. She's destroying ancient civilizations by going after daggers and stuff, and that's cool that they're leaning into that idea. The press conference itself, there was just, I mean,
They
I don't know,
showed
what
us
do you guys-
Kingdom
Dragon
Hearts
Quest?
3 and Dragon
did
Quest
Xbox.
11.
Yeah.
And Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts
so did-
3, but they didn't, in the Square Enix stuff, they showed the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff where we had like almost a live action vibe to it. I'm down for Kingdom Hearts 3. I can see that Ben's glazing over. Steve, you're kind of into it. But Jose's got a big smile. Yeah.
I love Disney.
All right.
I'm in.
I'm psyched for that. We're going to talk about specific games in a second here, but I want to just run through the press conferences. So Ubisoft's press conference, Steve Tilley, what are your thoughts?
They always put on a show. You know, Ubisoft, their
You were
press
there for
conference
that one,
always,
right? You were live.
I was there.
Yeah.
He was I got a great snapshot of
He was right
Steve
next to
just
Shigeru
grinning when
Miyamoto,
Miyamoto
dude.
came out, just like,
Yeah.
I ended up sitting next to, well, one seat over from Miyamoto
Wow.
through a weird occurrence of events. But yeah, I mean, they take the game seriously, but they don't really take the press conference like it's a form of entertainment. They have those freaking Just Dance dancers, and it's like a huge acid trip to begin with. And they have, I like that they bring out people to speak. Like we're going to talk about Sony's press conference in a minute, where Sean Layton spoke for like 30 seconds, but Ubisoft brings out the creative talent behind the games, and you really get a sense of the passion that's going into making the games. And they had a lot of cool stuff to show, like the new stuff for Beyond Good and Evil 2. It looks dynamite. The Jade reveal was kind of cool. The fact that Ubisoft kept this Starlink crossover with Star Fox a secret until E3 blows my mind, because everything leaked before E3.
Yeah.
And somehow they kept the fact that they were in this weird, Fox going to be in the Starlink thing a secret. That's why Miyamoto was there. And I happened to be sitting in the front row off to the side. And then all of a sudden, at some point in the press conference, 3 people got up and left their seats, and 3 other people came and sat down. I'm like, right next to me. I'm like, what's going on? And then, they announced the Star Fox thing. I realized one of the guys sitting next to me is Miyamoto.
Oh,
So
wow.
instead, and then I'm getting messages from Ben, Steve's on the stream. My Twitter's blowing up.
That is
It was a good show. It was a good show. They had a lot of good games to show, but it was also a good show in and of itself.
All right, and so let's get to the Sony presser, which I think is one of the most interesting press conferences we've seen ever. Ben Silverman, you were there. Steve Tilley, were you all 3 of you guys there?
no, I was working.
Okay, Ben, what did you think of that presser?
As were
Dude,
we.
I was working too, jerk. Listen,
I was doing actual work, guys.
not only was I working, I was sweating through my clothes.
Oh my God, it was hot.
So that let's just briefly just talk about the fake church kill room nightmare scenario.
Hold on one sec. I just want to relay that from our perspective, I was streaming with Bear from EXP this year, which was really fun and civilized, and we ate great vegetarian burgers, which was awesome. But it looked like Sony broke. It looked like everything busted at Sony, and we didn't know when it started, when it stopped, why it went back to Sid Schumann over and over again. I was like, what is happening? It was very weird.
We didn't know either, and we were there.
Yeah.
So we got dragged into this room. It was supposed to set up, it looked like a church. There were 8 pews in the front, and there were 700 people. So I was with Jeff Kanata, friend of the show.
Yep.
And we were right at the front, just kind of when they opened the doors, and we walked all the way up to these pews, and we're like, cool, we'll sit in these pews. And they're like, no, sorry guys, these are not for you. So we're like, okay. So we stood in the back, right next to one of the pews, and sitting in front of us was Neil Druckmann.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, I see how it goes. Druckmann gets a pew, but the rest of us got to stand
Silverman
here.
does it?
And
They know who you are?
Everybody's panicking that we're going to be stuck in this room standing for 2.5 hours. And luckily,
Next to
we
Neil
weren't.
Druckmann, Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
Very weird.
But luckily, we didn't get stuck there. But it was a terrible way to show this game. No one could see it who was there. Like, we were almost in the front, and we could barely see the screen. It was a very small screen. It wasn't a very high-res screen. And it wasn't until they let us out of this terrible, nightmarish church and put us into a beautiful, giant theater with a wraparound HD screen. It was amazing. And we're like,
fully air conditioned.
Air conditioned. We're like, why didn't you show this as your biggest game? Why didn't you show it on the giant, amazing screen? Why were we in the fake church that's gonna fall down on us? This was crazy. So someone
You're making too much sense, Ben. You're making too much sense.
Oh my God.
I appreciate what they tried to do. They tried to do something different. Last year we kind of bagged on Sony a bit for showing like one long sizzle reel. Like, again, no developers came out. They had, some performers. I like the fact they tried to do something different. But yeah, as Ben said, it was a horrible scenario. I thought it was going to go all like Red Wedding on us, and they're going to kill all the journalists.
Yes, I thought we were going to die. It's the first time I thought I was going to die in a press conference in at least 15 years.
And then Gustavo, what's his name, comes out, starts playing the banjo. I'm like, okay. Like by that time, we finally realized, we knew, or Ben probably knew early because he could see Neil Druckmann, but we knew that it was going to be The Last of Us Part 2. But yeah, it was not a great way. Like, I like the fact that they constructed this church to look like the church that's in the demo.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing behind it. But God, I feel bad. Like previous years when I've been like really covering E3 and having to file about the press conferences, I gotta have some place to work on my computer. I gotta be able to sit and work. And I feel terrible for anybody who's trying to file stories or write in this, this crowded slaughterhouse, in the heat and trying to see over tall guys' heads in front of you. Everybody's got their phones up, everybody's on social. Everybody's like.
It was a long
guess what
room.
it
It
was.
was a big, long room. There were people way at the back that couldn't even see the screen. It was so weird. And the thing is, they turned it around, I think, really well when we got to that big theater, and it was Ghost of Tsushima, which I thought was, we'll talk about it later, but that's one of my favorite games at the entire show.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful moment where you go from this, like, really, claustrophobic, terrible room with The Last of Us, and then all of a sudden you're like, and then this guy is out on this field, the samurai, and you see the field, and you see him. It's this beautiful game, and I thought they actually had a really nice show after that when they just let it be a normal press conference.
You guys, the Last of Us 2 is going to be a very uncomfortable game for a lot of people. And they just want you to feel it.
Very nice, Jose. All right, Foobs, what did you think of the Nintendo showcase, the Nintendo Direct video?
I mean, everybody wanted more Smash. We got more Smash. There's more Pikachu and Let's Go Pikachu and different variations of Let's Go Pikachu.
Yep.
Their presentations, it's always, watching their press conference, I don't know if we watched, I was just watching like clips of it with Bill sitting there doing it in English and in Japanese, double duties. That is a kind of a weird flow to a press conference that I'm watching. But I thought, obviously Smash Bros. I definitely want more, but the huge ultimate version of Smash Bros. I think is what everybody who has a Switch and is into wanting more and more depth within that console. That's the game that a lot of them are going to be playing, especially all the Nintendo fanboys who are going to be going batshit crazy for it.
I felt like the presser, the video showed almost so much of the game that it was like it was like so too much, Well,
but that's what they do, right? Like last year when they only had, like their first year, they only had Zelda at the show. Yeah. It was just like, this is the only thing. This is it.
Well, this has been their rhythm where they did 1 year with Zelda, and the next year was focusing on Odyssey. This year they're focusing on Smash. I think that the thing that was a disappointment for a lot of us is Smash Brothers, while a cool game and it looks like they have all these characters in it, and I think it is an incremental update to what they have been making. Yeah. Just kind of pales to the revolutionary Legend of Zelda and the kind of innovations that they had in Mario Odyssey with the hat and capturing things. It just sort of lacked a signature. Here's the really new Switch part of this game, and you felt like it was just a cool new Smash, but it didn't have that big change. And I think we all expected Metroid Prime was going to be that game that would get us to kind of kick it.
That was going to happen. It was not there.
So it's just a little disappointing, I think.
Well, and I think one of the things with this game is that it already has this mass audience that's ready for Smash, but I think Nintendo is trying to. Maybe not in terms like they're throwing every piece of fan service that they can into this game. It is going to be, as the name implies, the ultimate version of the game. But I think they want like everybody to get this game. Like everybody that has a Switch has a copy of Zelda and it has a copy of Mario Odyssey. They want that same kind of hook with this game. So I feel like there's more ways in to play it, but we won't really know that until we get a deeper sense of the modes and the Switch. Extras that we've never seen before.
I feel like it's a weird time, like Fortnite. People waiting in line to play Fortnite on the Switch, which is a huge announcement, which you can't play on your Epic account there's a whole other backstory to that. But like people waiting in line, like it's out. Yeah. You could download it now and be playing it while you're waiting in line to play something else here in the booth. You don't have to wait to play it in line here. Yeah. If you have it or not.
Yeah, you feel for the people that spent the money to attend E3, right? That's the other equation in E3 now, is that you run into a lot of people that are just fans of games and they spend a lot of money to go and play. And then I asked that on Twitter, like, why are you playing Fortnite on your Switch or on a Switch in the Nintendo booth here at E3? You could just download that too. But I think people were just happy to be able to play anything, because they were waiting in long lines.
It's like we see so many people waiting in line 2-3 hours to play one game, but I think for a lot of them, and to us, that seems bizarre because we've been to so many E3s, and because we don't have to wait in line for stuff. But for people who have never been to E3, this just being there, I think, it makes them happy. I didn't see, of the people I talked to who were there on paid tickets, nobody really seemed disappointed. They think they understood better, maybe had a better sense from last year what it was going to be like because there were a lot of lines and stuff. But a lot of people seemed happy, literally just happy to be there, be amongst their people, see the booths in person, and play Fortnite on Switch instead of downloading it.
It was only this. It was that's funny, but it was only the second year of there being regular folks and fans there. And
regular folks, Vic. I see how it is.
Fans.
Regular.
I don't know what's that.
We call them
fans.
We call them normies. Yeah.
Normies? Okay.
Normies.
Well, they were there, and it does feel like they made an incremental sort of step forward to keeping people happy, which is good. And let's hope that doesn't dissipate. Now, the only issue that I heard, though, is that people that wanted to go in the Xbox Fest had to pay an extra chunk of money. And the one thing that I will say about E3 is that I'm not a fan of this E3 spreading out to more days and more buildings.
Creep, man.
Yeah.
Wait. You didn't show up until Tuesday, buddy. I was there from Friday to Friday.
I was there from Wednesday till Friday.
It's kind of in response to what's been going on, though. I mean, we made that call last year because it adds, obviously, an expense for every extra day that we're going to be down there, but also realizing that we can stream along and sort of engage with the community is pretty damn cool. But I don't like that now when we go to E3, just like our sporadic contacts, it felt like that with the whole business that we've grown up with. I did see a lot of people there, but I also didn't see a lot of people there, and it's because it was spread out all over the place,
Yeah. You can crash in my bathtub next year, man. You come down a couple days early, you crash in the bathtub.
Sounds good. I just want EA and Xbox and anybody else that had an off-site thing, and Devolver actually is there. I didn't get to Devolver this year, and Mike Wilson, if you're watching, I'm sorry, brother. I just didn't get over there. We were stuck running around wherever we were. But
I was over there.
You were there, but I feel like
it was a great time.
If you're going to be at E3, let's be at E3 and let's bring it all back into one building. And it'd be great if there was an industry only day like they have at Tokyo Game Show and Gamescom. Maybe we have to build up to that, but I'm not a fan of this. This press conference is over here, and this building's here, and this is over here, and this is, and it's all so tangential. I wish people would just get back.
That's because of the ESA and the relationships these companies have with the ESA and the amount of money they're trying to charge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of political and financial reasons for that. That part I don't mind. What I have more of an issue with E3 is what this show is, right? Like they had metal detectors this year, which was a great idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, our country.
Need them.
You never know what's going to happen at these big events. It's smart to do that.
However, it's too difficult to ban the assault rifles. Let's just keep adding metal detectors.
Adding metal detectors. But whatever. I still think it's wise if you're going to have a big event like that to have some sort of security. You usually have none. However, there was no way for journalists who are working the show to quickly get in and out to be able to have just a press entrance. There was one for exhibitors. There wasn't one for media.
Yeah.
So you kind of are glommed together with fans, some of whom know to not bring bags, others who did. You have your laptop. At times, I was waiting in line for 45 minutes to get into the show to get to a meeting.
Wow.
And just because it got stuck or they didn't have enough open. It just feels like they're not sure what this show is still.
Yeah.
And I think that's more important to define that than to worry about if I have to walk, 5 minutes here or there. It's just who's the show for?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just falling into the lull of every other convention. Like you go to a San Diego Comic-Con, it's not just on the show floor, it's everywhere else around San Diego.
True.
GDC does the same thing. When you go to the Game Developers Conference, it's not just the show floor, it's every hotel is a suite with some studio in it that doesn't want to take up space on the show floor. And E3 is just sort of taking that and, doing the same thing, and where everybody's like, we could be nearby, come on by.
And business-wise, it was really the only way to go. I'm going to ask some of the viewers that are watching, because we're live right now, if you've got a question or a comment you want to throw to any of us, put it in all caps, and I or Blake will find it, and we'll ask it to the group. But right now, let's get into, and I have to call up a different piece of content here. So let's talk about some of our favorites from E3. Sorry, guys. Favorites from E3. Let's talk about PlayStation and our favorite games. So, let's start with you, Steve Tilley.
Well, I think PlayStation has had a lot to show, and Sony's kind of killing it with the exclusives. They continue to kill it with the exclusives.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff we saw isn't coming out until 2019. Last of Us 2, we don't even know. Maybe late 2019, who knows? But I spent an hour hands-on with Spider-Man, and it is everything that I hoped it would be.
Yes.
It's the traversal from Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. It's the combat of the Batman Arkham games, but not. It's got its own very distinct character. I'm super stoked for that. And yeah, as Ben was saying, Ghost of Tsushima was I didn't actually know that was a Sucker Punch game until E3. I wasn't paying that much attention to it. But I really like the idea of a non-supernatural kind of samurai game. Like, there's not going to be spells and fireballs and shit like that. It's going to be,
right.
You're exploring an actual period of Japanese history. Like, obviously liberty's taken for the game's sake, but and it looks freaking amazing. So if they can pull off in gameplay what they showed us at E3, then those are my top two from Sony for sure.
Awesome. Ben, you and I were also at there was a PlayStation event for pre-E3, and we saw the Dreams game from Media Molecule, which wasn't really shown off or playable at E3. But what were your thoughts about what PlayStation showed this year?
I agree with Steve that Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima, for me, really Ghost of Tsushima was the bright spot.
Tsushima!
Cool. Kind of weird that you would kind of go racist, but go for it. We're only live on the internet.
Not racist.
Hey,
man.
we have to make the cringe
say
roll
it.
somehow, man.
Racy.
Okay.
I think I said racy, not racist. I'm a big fan of Akira Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune and Yojimbo and Seven Samurai. And you don't really, when I thought about when I was watching it, why I loved it so much, I can't think of a game that I've played that really captured it.
Yeah.
You've played games where, right, it's like a fantastical samurai game, or maybe you've played, like, there was that crappy futuristic Seven Samurai 20XX, right? They always do something weird. They always do something weird with it. They don't just try to get it right. And Sucker Punch, despite being a Western developer, they're working with Sony Japan tightly. Getting an up close and personal demo of that game made me want it even more. So that was number one for me. Spider-Man played great. Number two, The Last of Us Part 2, I think we all have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the way that they're showing this game, which is that it is dark and gory and dreary and brutal over and over again in every one of these demos. And from what I hear from people I've spoken to who work alongside some of those folks, it's not like they're just choosing to do that. Like, that's the game.
Yeah.
It is brutal and dreary and gory.
That was
and
the
you're just
first
gonna be
game.
doing that a lot.
Yeah, that was the first game, and when I saw the demo, like, I can't wait for it, and I know I'm going to love it. But sometimes, and I asked this of the Sucker Punch folks, if they're wanting to make this a franchise and make a sequel of this game, like, sometimes we may not need more.
Yeah.
As much as I want more of Last of Us, it's like I don't want it. I don't want more at the expense of liking it less. And I feel maybe that might have happened a little bit with Uncharted as it kept going on. Is like I loved it, but then maybe we got a little too much of it. So it's good that we're taking a break. And I feel like the longer the break and the more room for reinvention, the better, as Nintendo has just shown us with Zelda.
I think part of it is also just that the thing that we all loved about The Last of Us wasn't just sneaking past a clicker. It was the moments in between sneaking past clickers when you had this relationship develop, when you got to see more of the world, when it was the conversations with Ellie and Joel. That was where the game started to really become something special. And what we've mostly seen, the kiss scene was great, and that animation was unbelievable.
Unreal.
And was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, frankly, in a video game. But I think we need to see more of that kind of like narrative and start to feel like, okay, there's going to be more to this game than just like constantly drenched in blood, like doing this in people's throats. Maybe you're doing that a lot, but maybe when they show it, they need to back off a little. That's just my gut feeling.
All right, let's switch over to Xbox, because I don't have you guys forever and ever today. So, Foobs, I know you're a huge Gears fan, as am I. What did you think of the Gears 5 reveal?
Gears 5 is cool. I think the Pop Gears is going to open up a whole slew of Lego-style games. Like, so many companies are going to be like, Lego's not going to make mature-rated Lego games.
Right.
But Pop could take it into a realm where, like, well, if you guys don't want to work with this franchise, we got Pops for damn near everything in the universe. Let's make a game out of it. Let's go in and
that felt totally incongruous to me, but it does, like, I think it makes sense from a licensing standpoint, but I don't know if I'm excited about the Pop Gears. But One thing that you think about when you see that is like, Pop is the master of licensing everything. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? Instead of making it about Toys to Life, but they could have blended their Pop universes into something kind of killer, right?
Place your Pop on a pedestal.
No.
Pop universe, Vic. You've created it. It's out there. It's gonna happen.
So I mentioned Gears 5, and you go right to the Pop one. So
yeah, I mean, just because Gears, I expected to see new Gears. I expected to see new Halo.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool they came out and showed some Fallout, which I'm obviously super excited about.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about Xbox is the ID at Xbox stuff. Like typically Xbox and Sony will battle it out for the indie stuff.
Right.
They showcase a lot of indie stuff, and Sony I felt dropped the ball on indie games completely.
Yes.
And ID at Xbox, they had Dead Cells, guys. They had Dead Cells in their presentation.
And it is kind of funny that this year, because it's needed it, the Switch has become a huge indie player. And they didn't show too many indie games, but for some reason we know there are tons of... The one that they did show, which and was available right at E3, was Hollow Knight, which I've downloaded, and that's such a killer game, and it's a great place to have it. But let's talk about some of the other best games of 2018, and we've already talked a little bit about Spider-Man. We've talked about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Is there one that we haven't really gone into that really shocked you?
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Show it, Foobs. Show it.
All right, Foobs, let's hear it. Cyberpunk 2077.
Cyberpunk.
Hey, that's not PG-13. That you can see that's an upstairs.
There's a glare. There's a PG-13 glare on it. No, finally getting to see some Cyberpunk 2077. They announced the game like 2012, 2013.
Yeah, 2012.
It was just like, it's the Shenmue. It's like it's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Not gonna come out. It's not gonna happen. And then they hacked the Xbox presser, and they're like, yes, it is. It's going to happen. Is it going to be on that new Xbox Shadow console they showed? Probably, because I think just like The Witcher 3, we saw that game for like 3 years at E3.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see this game at E3 next year.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to see it in 2020 E3, and it's going to be like holiday season 2020. It's going to happen.
I think it's going to come out sooner than that. I mean, I will say
I hope so.
They showed.
They've been working on it since 2012.
They had an hour demo, so I feel like there's a lot going on already.
I mean, I just want to unpack that for a minute. Like, they didn't need to
unpack it.
They did not need to show us 50 minutes of live gameplay. That was an incredibly bold move.
Yeah.
And I think that shows a confidence that they have in their product and what they're building that indicates that it's maybe a little further along than we think. I mean, yes, it's incredibly ambitious. It's got this huge GTA world. It's got all this amazing different ways to play the game. No, I don't think it's coming out like this year, and I'm sure probably not coming out anytime soonish next year. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it as a fall 2019 game. I wouldn't be shocked at that.
How do you think it would run though on the launch model PlayStation 4 and launch model Xbox One? Because I feel like those consoles, they're powerful, but that game is another level.
Is it any more than GTA 5? I mean, I'm sorry, just is it any busier than that?
I think it is because
it.
It's busier. There's more details, but it's also a lot of branching up, potential and conversations, and there's lots of different, permutations of how things are going to evolve. So computationally, I would think that it's more complex than what Grand Theft Auto 5 is offering.
And that's why I said it probably won't be until 2020.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you talk about the length of the demo. They did that with The Witcher. Every Witcher demo at E3 was such a long presentation. By the third E3 where I saw it, it was my last interview of the day, and the guy's like, "What'd you think?" I was like, "It was good." He's like, "It was good," and I was like, "Yeah, it was good. It was good last year, and 2 years ago it was great. Now it's just good. I want to be playing this damn thing. It's my last interview of the day. Let's roll the camera." Hi, welcome to the show.
Well, certainly Cyberpunk, though, it brings us to a very good point here, and I think this is a subject of E3 that I want to talk about a bit here. But certainly Cyberpunk was the game that all of us talked about, and everybody that we know in games that we ran into. Did you see the Cyberpunk demo? Did you see the Cyberpunk? We were all saying it. We all needed to see it. It was constantly packed. From the minute they let the doors open, it was a crazy thing to behold.
You had to have a ticket. You had to have a ticket or be on standby to get in.
Yeah.
Like they sold out all the demos early on, and Yeah, every time the time I went in, there were like 12 people waiting to get in on standby, and there was like slots for 2 more people to go in. So once word got around, it was like literally the hot ticket of E3. But again, I think that was something. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was did the general public have access to that? I guess they might have, or did you have to make appointments?
I
for
don't
it?
know.
So I think they had
On
appointments
standby,
that you would
they
make.
could. Yeah.
They had appointments that you would make before the show, which journalists did, and then they had they had a waiting list, and then they had a standby list for the waiting list. So you could be on standby, assuming that the waiting list people didn't show up, then you could get in. So they had these.
And it's crazy to me that they haven't released video of this, and they didn't let the E3 judges get any hands-on time with the game. And that this would have been the game of the show. So this
2020, you will, Vic.
This brings me to my point
years
here,
away from
because there
hands-on.
were a bunch of games, and E3 has become this over the last few years. There are a bunch of games that are conjecture. It's like pie in the sky, like beautiful visuals. The fact that Fallout 76 wasn't playable and it's coming out in October, like this year, and they didn't let you play it is so crazy to me. But Control was another one that had a really fantastic demo. It was a live demo, but it's you couldn't touch it. Cyberpunk, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2, Fallout 76, Death Stranding, Beyond Good and Evil 2 was an amazing demo, and they had an incredible trailer. But they said, in her presentation, she said, "This is our new trailer. You see that we've come a long way from last year's trailer." And I asked, "How many more years of trailers are we going to see?" Because we have no idea. And I felt like the demo was cool.
That's a next gen console game.
I think that, right?
I don't think we're seeing that in this generation. No.
Yeah, because it feels like. It's so big because we get a really big sense of the city, and then we scale out, and then we're in space, and then we get another huge sense of all of these different planets that we can travel to. It doesn't feel like it's anywhere close to being ready.
Yeah. That's why.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like you talking about the trailers, it's taking it in that Comic-Con style of thing. People get so excited for the trailers, man.
Yeah.
They just want to see a trailer. They want to see a sneak peek of something that they're not going to see for a while. And so they're just like, here you go. Here's a trailer.
But I kind of
come back and play it.
Don't you guys miss the way that E3s were? I know that it's oversimplifying the state of the business, but they used to be more about talking to the press and the the retailers, soon to be realtors, because none of those stores are staying open. But they used to talk to us about what's coming up at Christmas time, and here's all the cool stuff that everybody's going to want, and then they would be out at Christmas time. It'd be like, here's this and that.
I think you're looking back through rose-tinted glasses on this, because I don't think that was the case this year. There were certainly a couple games that we really wanted to play, wanted to see more of, that they didn't show us. Obviously, Beyond Good and Evil, Ghost of Tsushima. There were a lot of these Cyberpunk. There were a lot of these games that were like that. But there were also, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Tennis Aces. There was Spider-Man, Anthem, Spider-Man.
The
there
Division
were a lot
2.
of games. Hitman 2.
Yeah,
Resident Evil 2
is actually.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's not just Mario.
Starlink. There were a lot of games when you start to actually say, well, what were all the games that I could play? There were a lot. So it almost feels like E3 is 2 shows. And if you're going to vote for a best of show, you kind of have to differentiate. And to be to give credit where it's due, Jeff Keighley in that Game Critics Awards thing every year, which I am not a judge this year, but I have been in the past. There's a line that he says to all the judges where he says, you're going to see a lot of content in a lot of different forms. You're going to see some stuff that's ready to go in a month, and you're going to see some stuff that's a couple years out. It's your job to be able to kind of figure out what's going to look coolest based on different stages of development you're going to see games. It's getting harder and harder because you see stuff that's so polished, but it's coming out in a couple months. You see stuff that's really rough. You don't know how it's going to show up. But that, to me, is E3. That's the point of the show. You're going to see things that are pie in the sky. That's my favorite stuff, is always the stuff that's like crazy and it's never going to get done. And I love that you're taking a big swing at it, as opposed to Smash Brothers, which is cool and
predictable.
Polished, but I understand it the whole way.
Yes.
I like things I don't understand. I got to work for it.
Okay, well,
this year there wasn't a lot of surprise. There wasn't a lot of surprise at this year.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Thanks, Walmart Canada.
Thanks, Walmart.
Yeah.
But even with that, there wasn't anything that everybody was just like, I cannot. I mean, Cyberpunk, okay, but not a lot of people got to see that or play it.
I think
nobody got to play it, but
Resident Evil 2 freaked people out. You know, they could, and Devil May Cry. I think Capcom had a couple of biggies, but Devil May Cry 5 wasn't playable. It was just a video again. But let's talk about stuff that was playable. So we talked a little bit about the PlayStation. We've talked about Smash Brothers. We've talked about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We talked about Hitman 2. Was there a favorite playable game that is coming within the next 6 to 9 months? Let's start with you, Jose.
I mean, I didn't really get a chance to play a lot. I thought Anthem was cool, but it's lumped into that category. February 22nd of next year is going to be a crazy day. That's what E3 this year is like. Really Days loaded. Gone. You get Anthem. You had Metro's coming out that day. Crackdown might be coming out the same day. So like, get your February ready. It's going to be just taking over your GDC month. I played the new Destiny Forsaken stuff. I thought that was cool.
Yep.
A lot of big Destiny people are waiting for more Destiny, so that was kind of cool. I went to the Bandai Namco booth. Yeah. And they just have so many different fighting games that all feel completely different from each other.
Yeah, Jump Force was surprising, wasn't it?
Right, the Jump Force, especially after Dragon Ball Fighter Z, as the Canadians would say. But then they had Soul Calibur 6. I'm like, all right, bring it in some more Fury. But I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I just got to sneak in, play a few games when I had some available time. And so those were sort of the games that I really wanted to check out. Jump Force. I saw Jump Force at the Xbox presentation. I'm like, I need to get in.
Oh, it's so fun. On that. So crazy. And Soul Calibur 6 as well. But I feel from you that it's Spider-Man, though.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, of course.
Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Friendly neighborhood.
They call him
Peter Spiderman.
Speeder Parker. Spiderman.
Ben, what about yourself, sir?
Spider-Man far and away was the best playable thing. Yeah. Like, if you're looking at what's the coolest game that's going to come out this holiday that I played at E3, undoubtedly it's Spider-Man. Yeah. There were other cool games that I played that I enjoyed. Hitman 2 I did enjoy playing, and again Anthem, which is kind of close to that, I enjoyed playing.
Didn't you guys like the demo that we had with Hitman 2 with the person sitting right beside you telling you?
No, actually, you know what?
Oh, you didn't? I liked it.
That is the worst way to play Hitman is have somebody telling you exactly, and that's the only way you can do a demo in 45 minutes. But having somebody walk you through every step, walk through that door, pick up the gun, knock out that guy, do this, put him in there. It's like you might as well just be playing this yourself, because I don't really feel like I'm doing anything here. Yeah. And the Hitman games, it's hard to convey at E3, but the Hitman games are all about this weird assassin's sandbox that you go into and just figure stuff out and try different things. And I understand that's really the only way they really could do a demo, but I just felt like I was driving the controller while somebody's telling me where to go.
Yeah.
I agree. Speaking of driving, I would say Forza Horizon 4, of the games coming out that are imminently coming out, it's not a sexy game to talk about at E3.
No.
Forza Horizon 3 is arguably the best racing game in the last maybe 5-10 years. And now we've got a sequel, and everyone's a little bored about it and like, oh, okay, who cares? The truth is that game's going to get an 89 or a 92. I mean, that game's going to be amazing. Yeah. And when you play it, you're like, holy shit, look how good this video game looks. Yeah. And it's coming out soon. Yeah. Like and I think Ori also was another game that looks beautiful. Ori. And when you play it, you're like, I'm ready to take this game home.
Yeah, very cool. Steve, what about yourself?
I mean, Ben's touched on a lot of them. I did really enjoy Anthem. Going hands-on with Anthem kind of reassured me a little bit. I've had, there's been a lot of concerns with this game, with the Battlefront 2 debacle of loot boxes and how EA's influence is going to spill over to Anthem, and BioWare's got to come back from Andromeda right now. And going hands-on with the game, it's really fun. It plays really well. It's like a mix of Destiny and I heard it described as like maybe we talked about this as an Iron Man game, and it really is. The sensation of flying in these powered suits is awesome, and the gunplay is really tight, and the world design seems cool. So it was a short demo, but it's really gone a long way to alleviate some of my fears about Anthem. We saw some of the BioWare story stuff in the single player hub world, and then when we go off to do the missions, the gameplay feels really, really good. So yeah, I feel a little more confident about Anthem having played it.
Me too. Yep. So fun, and I can't wait to see how Anthem kind of influences the designs of future BioWare role-playing experiences, because they're going like so deep into action that you can't help but think that that's going to benefit on a future Mass Effect game if they bring that back. There might be some things that they learn from that would help a Dragon Age game in some way. or if they ever do another KOTOR or something like that, that could be really rad. There hasn't been nearly enough Overcooked 2 talk, and I may be the one that's most excited for that, but the four of us could be playing that right now and yelling at each other. And I had an amazing demo of that pre-E3. It's going to be perfect on the Switch. Did you guys check it out? Did you play it?
Nope.
Nope. 3.
Nope.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I played it. I played it during my Switch demo, and it was. We made a bunch of sushi. Super fun.
Oh God, I freaking.
I think
love
Mario Tennis. I thought Mario Tennis Aces actually was one of the most surprising games of the show for me. I didn't play the demo.
Yeah.
That was out that people were playing.
Yeah.
But when you actually hopped into the demo at E3 and what they were showing, that's a fighting game. That is totally a fighting game.
I'm playing it right now, and I'm having a blast. It's an excellent game for the Switch.
Yeah.
Did you guys check out The Division 2? Am I the only one that's hyped
Yes.
for this?
No,
Yes.
I played it.
Yeah.
Shocked by Division 2.
Yeah.
I was deep into the Division for the first few months it came out until it just became a grind and the Dark Zone became impossible to play.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they're setting it a few months ahead, and it's the summer now. It's in Washington D.C. You know, you're shooting around the wreckage of Air Force One, and yeah, it made me remember why I loved playing the Division so much.
Yes. All right, we've got a bunch of indie games heading our way too, and we got a chance to check out a whole bunch of them. Dead Cells gets the vote from Foobs. What about you, Ben? We were at the indie night. Did you get a chance to reflect on these titles at all?
Yeah, two that stand out to me. One is, what was the name? Outer Wilds.
Yeah, Outer Wilds. Yeah.
Which is a very kooky sort of space exploration game. You're like kind of this weird alien on this planet, and you. It's hard to describe. You blast off on a spaceship and you explore. It's a very weird exploration, very indie, very Indian artsy for sure.
Yeah.
The game that I actually played the most of, that's an indie game at the show. The two that maybe two games took my breath away. The first that I played the most of was Below. Finally,
awesome.
Finally,
awesome.
Below for a while.
Yeah.
And let's get this game out, Cappy. Cappy's been working on this game for 46
Steve, you're
years.
the closest. So after we're done this, go and knock on their door.
Go yell at Nathan.
Is your game done?
I mean, they've actually released the game while they were working on this game. They made the Cartoon Network KO game, and it's put it out, and everyone's like, "What about Below? What's that? Where's that?"
I feel like that maybe had to pay some of the bills. Yeah, I think the Cartoon Network game is probably paying for Below. You know.
Yeah, Below is it's their white whale for sure, but it's really good. I played it for about 45 minutes, and it's like a creepy, stylish kind of Zelda roguelike. It's really cool. It's really mysterious. You don't really know what the hell you're doing for most of the time. A lot of like hieroglyphics and systems that don't really make sense until you try them. I think that's going to be a really cool game. And then the other game, which I don't think this is technically an indie game, it was shown, I think, as an ID at Xbox game, but it's made by Avalanche, who are making 57 games at the show. It's Generation Zero.
It's Don't Nod and Avalanche have just exploded in the last little while, right? They're making all the games.
Yeah. So I don't know if we would consider Generation Zero to be an indie game because it's Avalanche, but it feels like an indie game, and it's kind of a cross between, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but it's got a little bit of Half-Life, it's got a little bit of Horizon.
Wow.
It's, you're kind of like four characters exploring this future world where robots are sort of taken over, a little bit like Horizon, but not far future like that, very near future. And there's a lot of cool gameplay and sort of emergent stuff that happens as you're exploring this big world. Really cool, really weird. But look it up if you're watching the show. Generation Zero. It didn't get a lot of buzz at the show, but I got a pretty cool download.
Yeah, it's the first I've heard of it. That sounds awesome.
Steve, did you catch any cool indies that you want to tell us about?
I think the only indie-ish games that I got hands-on with were I'm the one guy in the world who didn't love the first Ori, and I'm not sure if that really qualifies as an indie game, but Ori Will of the Wisp is it's awesome. I mean, it's such a tight, beautiful platformer. I love some of the new mechanics they've added to it. And another Xbox indie is Tunic, which looks like an old school Zelda game with the most adorable little fox character that you can imagine. And it's just, I'm a sucker for charming, whimsical stuff. So I hope I hope the full game is as sweet as the little demo that they had. But I unfortunately, it's funny. When E3, we see all these big AAA Spider-Man, Last of Us 2 games, but we see, unless you go digging for them, the indies. I feel like this year the indies didn't get as much love. Maybe more from Xbox, because Xbox is so committed. But we'll see like 20 minutes of The Last of Us 2, and then we'll see like a 2-minute montage of a dozen, indie games, any one of which could be awesome. There's so much more imagination and creativity and risk being taken in the indies that I feel like we gotta show these guys more love. And
they're
not
so important to these
focus
platform holders now too, right? Like they fill in the gaps when we're waiting for these big titles to arrive, and we're talking about how long some of the development times are right now. The indies are satisfying, and there's a lot of risk taken off of these publishers because the indie teams just pay for the development of these things. And they provide just immense creative pleasure, and lots of cool things. Dead Cells gets your vote there, Foobs?
Yeah. I mean, come on, Dead Cells.
Everybody should be playing Dead Cells.
There was another game. Oh, obviously, it's cool to see that they're bringing a little more Cuphead back.
Yeah.
But there was another game at I think it was the Xbox, the ID at Xbox, that had that similar like old school cartoon style. I can't remember what the hell it was called. There was like a flowing. It looked like Journey, but it was on Xbox.
Sable?
Yes, Sable.
Yes.
Thought that looked cool.
Yeah, it looks like a Ralph Bakshi cartoon.
Oh,
yeah, little rotoscope.
A little rotoscope, like it was like out of the Lord of the Rings thing that he did way back in the 70s.
That trippy, awful movie.
But that was on my list as one of the coolest independent games. We got a little hands-on time with it, and it's more experiential than like you're trying to go off and blast and kill everything. It's more just to try to figure out the environment and the world, but it is cool. And the other one is Pray to the Gods, which kind of directly lifts from Shadow of the Colossus and a little bit of Legend of Zelda, but it's beautiful, and it's made by a tiny little team of like 2 or 3 people, and they're really ambitious. They've spent years in development already. They had to change the name from Prey, Prey, because Bethesda said that's too close to our Prey, so it's Praey. Yes.
They changed it from Prey to
Prey.
They changed it from Prey to Prey of the Colossus.
Yes, Prey of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Prey, and that didn't work.
And Sea of Solitude, which actually showed up and Thorazine 666 just reminded me of. I love that whole demo in the EA presser. I thought that was really cool.
So Sorry.
Go ahead, Foobs.
I was just going to say, like, having worked the last 3 EA plays, I feel like the people that come out and talk about their EA originals are the best people on stage throughout the press conference. They're the most the Unravel guy. The first game, he was just like so completely nervous. And this year it was the Sea of Solitude lady that took over for that. But they're just like so happy to talk about their game, and so like not the monotone, let's get the key points, buzzwords out. They're like, here's this game. I wrote this from this dark depression like in my life, and now it's the Sea of Solitude game. And I was like, all right, I'm intrigued by your story. I want to see more of this game.
Awesome.
Yeah. One game I wanted to see more of, speaking of, I think, an indie game, is the game that everybody thought was Skate 4, but was actually called Session.
Yeah.
And I spoke in like passing, running through the hallway, Chris Charla, who kind of manages the ID at Xbox, former journalist, Chris Charla, was running past me. Yeah, he's a great guy. And I'm like, hey, man, Session looks amazing. And he's like, stops and just starts rambling at me. And he's like, yeah, dude, you didn't even get to see, like, so that one person skating and the other person is the camera. So it's actually like it's like a session, like a Thrasher magazine, like a skate session.
Oh, wow.
I think one person like could be the camera for the other dude skating.
Yeah.
It looks rad, and they didn't have it anywhere. And I'm like, everyone went crazy when you showed that. Like, you had to have that game here. So the coolest stuff wasn't even there, I think.
There was a lot of that. Somebody mentioned Deep Down wasn't there, and somebody mentioned The Last Night, which made such a huge impression last year.
Right.
It is funny how even the indies will just move across a bunch of years. One thing that wasn't a surprise was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We knew more was coming before the show, like lots of games. Any thoughts on Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
Yeah, I played 4 hours of that thing.
Wow.
So, I have some thoughts. Yeah, it was a little preview in Quebec City before the show.
Yeah.
And I was worn out. I was done with Assassin's Creed, and then Origins came along, and it's a setting that I think we're all familiar with, and they had revamped some of the systems. I dug Origins, but only got about halfway through before I kind of petered out.
Yeah.
I think Odyssey's kind of going the same direction. The fact that they're adding more fantastical elements to it, like these like supernatural abilities, make it a little more RPG-esque and a little more action-focused.
Yep.
It works, and I love the setting. It's ancient Greece, so it's again a setting that we all studied in school. But it's just something about the combat in the game that's still so janky.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel fluid the way that we expect action-adventure game combat to feel.
Right.
And I don't know, it's going to be so interesting to watch the reaction of the game and how well it does, because we thought, with Origins, they took a gap year, they took a year off before Origins.
We thought that was the new way.
We all assumed that was the new way,
Yeah.
you know, and then all of a sudden, you know,
a second one this year.
Yeah.
Odyssey's coming out
another
this
one.
fall. Yeah, like, okay, well, I guess we're not taking a year off to let it breathe.
Well,
so
let me ask you guys this, because we still get this in our demos, and publishers and developers that are listening may want to hear these responses. But does it impress you anymore when a developer says, yeah, pull back on the map, and you can see all the places that you're going to go, and look at how big.
Look at all those icons.
Yeah.
Look at all of those icons.
No, that was one of the things that I liked most about Metro, which was, I didn't think had a great demo at the show, but in Metro, when you bring out your map, it's got nothing on it but like a circle in the corner. There's no side missions. So you're just like, you got to get there. And then you got to bring out your compass, and you got to like go, well, how the hell do I get up there? And you got to look at your compass in this map.
I love
the
Metro
games. Refreshing.
They're so
something
cool.
so refreshing about like not having a million fucking beacons everywhere. Like it's just nope, just go.
So
Explore,
they did that in the Assassin's Creed demo that I got, and it's just like, I don't know if I need to do that anymore. I like it. Just feels it feels a little bit like you're giving me my chore list, but I feel. On the consumer level, when a player just wants to buy a game that they know they're going to play forever, that's really still big news for them. But as a reviewer, it's like,
Yeah, just wait until you try to explore Fallout 76, which is 4 times larger than Fallout 4, which I have not explored 100%.
You guys know I'm the biggest Fallout fan amongst the bunch of us. I think I've got 250 hours in Fallout 4. I don't know if I'm going to play 76, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and I gave ESO, 10, 15 hours, and was like, nope. It just shatters the immersion of the world so much, having other human beings in it, that if they found some magical way to make this work in Fallout 76, it could be fantastic. But you take away the traditional VATs, you take away the real deep single player storyline, and you're throwing a bunch of people, teabagging you and telling you to go bang your mom. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the Fallout for me. I'm gonna
dude, you gotta play with some.
Do you have those on buttons so that when you're chatting, you just should press those? Go teabag your mom. All right, let's.
No, that's a good point. Like, if I can play with people I know, probably not, you guys would tell me to, all kinds of.
Now we're going to tell you to go bang your mom.
You're thrown in a world in love with strangers. You can ruin it. It just, I don't know. It's not for me.
We got a comment from
like a
we got a comment from Johnny McFly. Just make the damn Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan already. And I asked the Sucker Punch guys if that was ever a fear of theirs, that Assassin's Creed was going to make a Japanese game, and they're like, yeah, we thought about it for sure. I think we could keep talking about E3 all day, and clearly it was a good show, and there was lots that's tangible and lots that's theoretical and pie in the sky. We're getting a new Spider-Man, yes. But I think we got to do it the old-fashioned way, and let's score PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, and PC, just because it kind of summarizes everything. Let's talk about scores for PlayStation. Rubber Ducky, Hitman, we're throwing up our swag. Scores for PlayStation, start with you, Steve Tilley.
Oh, well, I mean, again, they had a lot of cool stuff to show, but other than Spider-Man, not a lot of it's coming out right away. They tried something different with the press conference that backfired a little bit, but they had some good stuff to show. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man and The Last of Us 2 just collectively are 3 freaking amazing looking single player experiences, which is what I'm looking for. So I guess I'm going to give Sony an 8 out of 10.
Okay, Ben?
I'm going to put on my glasses for this. Jeez, I'm going to throw up. I'm sorry. Woo!
He's just all over the camera. It's amazing.
Like, apparently, my prescription doesn't work if you just double it. It doesn't work. The beginning of the press conference was a 2 out of 10. It ended with like a 9 out of 10. I think Steve's about right. I'll give him, just as a presence at the show, I'm going to actually give him a 7.5 because I think I was a little bummed that they didn't have more of an indie presence. And even though they had some cool PSVR games, we didn't talk about Tetris Effect, which I think is one of the best VR games of the show. Yeah. Still just felt like they're like one of the last VR supporters that can really still push it forward. And they didn't really do much to do that at their show in general. So 7.5 for me, but decent show from them.
Jose?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of all the single player stuff that they showed. And I too, I wish there was more indie love because I love the indies. I'm a big fan, and I appreciate when the last few years they've been just breaking out so many little tidbits of videos of what I can expect to play. No Spelunky 2, missed opportunity, 7.5 out of 10.
I'm with Steve. I think I'm going to go for an 8, and I think it is because of these strong exclusives. And I also like Jose's comment about sticking to these single-player experiences, these deep story experiences. It is shocking, though, that since 2016 we haven't really been, shooken by Sony releasing something, or shaken up by Sony releasing something that is so. They're basically fulfilling these promises that they made in 2016, and they didn't really make too many new promises in 2018. You know what I mean? They showed us all these games, and now they're coming out. Yeah.
Right. They I think have learned their lesson that they can't keep coming out with things that are shookening us up.
Right. Shaken. I make up words on the fly. Let's talk about Nintendo and their 2018 reveals and the stuff that we're seeing. What would you give it? Steve.
Who are you talking to?
Steve, sorry. I'm looking right in your eyes, but you can't see me.
If you're a Smash fan, man, this is going to be your year. I'm not a Smash guy, although when I did my hands-on demo, I was with 3 other random guys who I thought were going to kick my ass, and I took Ridley, one of the new characters. I won, man. I'm a Smash god. Apparently, I didn't realize it. But beyond Smash, there was so little that was a surprise. Fortnite coming out that day when they announced it was a surprise.
Overcooked.
Ubisoft, I think, had the biggest Nintendo surprise with the Star Fox Cross. But in terms of actual stuff that they had playable that I was interested in, I'm not a huge Pokemon guy. I did enjoy the Pokeball controller, but I don't know, man. It was not Nintendo's strongest show.
Yeah.
As Ben has said, previous shows we've seen have been centered around Super Mario Odyssey and Zelda, which were like the 2 best games on the Switch of this generation. Smash isn't up there, I don't think. I think Smash is, I don't want to call it a niche title, but it's definitely not going to be as broadly accepted as the other 2. And that's really all that they pinned it on. So I think it's my long-winded way of saying, for me, Nintendo's about a 6.5.
Okay. The other thing that I would say about the Nintendo stuff is that there wasn't a lot of third-party support that rocked our worlds either. Like there was some, the one like FIFA was. Yeah, I was surprised because the momentum on the Switch has been incredible. So I was expecting to see a lot more. Like we're getting Dragon Ball Fighters, and
Fortnite had 2 million downloads in the weekend.
That's the point I'm making, is that it's time for the third-party publishers to really go gung-ho on the Switch, and we didn't really feel that. We've got some, but not enough. I'm going to give this Switch presence a 7. What about yourself there, Jose?
Again, I'm going to play Smash, probably not online, because watching people who are good at Smash play that game is an embarrassment to what I can do with my fingers on a controller playing Smash. I'll give the Pokemon games a try. As soon as they bring Dead Cells to the Switch, it'll get a 7. Maybe an 8.
Product placement.
One game.
Dude, no, I love this game, Steve. I have 250 hours into this game on my PC. I want to start fresh on everything that I own.
That's amazing.
But yeah, again, I wanted something. Like Donkey Kong came out, and then it just came out. Like it wasn't, if they'd have saved that and been like, hey, it's out today.
Yeah.
Nobody knew about it.
Right.
That would have been kind of
That's a good
cool
point.
thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like Donkey Kong was missed opportunity, even though it's one of their big franchises, and they didn't really have anything that was going to shock the system.
Yeah, all the momentum leading up to E3, this E3 with Switch, has been more exciting than what we're getting sort of propelling us out of this E3 in a way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having Zelda that first year and Mario that second year, I wanted people to be leaving I'm so happy I have this Switch.
Right.
I mean, Smash Brothers fan, sure, but I want that single player, dude, Metroid Prime Collection. Give me that at least to hold me over until you guys do another one.
Need your score.
I'm giving it a 6.
Okay, Ben.
Let me switch glasses for this.
Okay.
I think that Steve kind of hit the nail on the head. It's just it's all about this one game, really. And that one game didn't quite do it for me the way that last year and the year before did. I will say that prior to us falling down the Smash rabbit hole for 25 minutes in their direct, they did a rapid fire 30 game kind of showing where they just kind of was this game. And I was trying to write them all down, and I'm I couldn't get them all down.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah, the Mario Party and Fire Emblem stuff looks great. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a litany. They had Overcooked 2. They had they kind of mentioned all these different games in there, and it it did make me realize that the last couple of years I've been bitching and moaning about Nintendo's pipeline problems, that they just like release one big game and then there's nothing, and for 4 months and then there's another big game. And this year they're really reminding us that that's different with the Switch, that there is a constant steady buzz of software now available for this new console.
Yep.
A lot of it's indie, a lot of it's not, and a lot of it's just cool.
Yeah.
So I think that even though their showing wasn't super great, you know, they made a good case that the Switch is going to have a lot of software, coming out this year primarily, and then there will be some stuff in the coming years. So I'm actually going to give them a 7, a little begrudgingly, but I like these glasses. So.
Okay, Xbox. Let's start with you, Foobs.
Again, Xbox came out with the most games shown on stage at the press conference. A lot of indie support. A lot of their big titles made presence at the show floors, you know, showing off the tech behind whatever is going to be creating the new Halo game. And there's new Gears, like 3 new Gears games. So if you weren't a fan of Gears, you can get like the RTS version of Gears or Pop Gears. Your racing games are in there. All your indie games are in there. I thought they had a good showing. I would have liked to seen a little bit more oomph. I mean, the Cyberpunk thing at the end sort of sealed the deal. Like, all right, you guys have clearly came to this E3 ready to lay down the gauntlet, and they had teased a new console in the works. So I left E3's press conference sessions more excited about the stuff I heard from Microsoft. And so I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10.
Ben, how about yourself, brother?
Dead Cells, guys. Dead Cells.
Well, I'm sorry. This was Microsoft we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just quickly consult with my next pair of glasses here. So I think for sure.
Your HoloLens?
I think for sure. I can't see anything. I can't even hear anything, guys. So I don't know if this is working anymore. It's a lot of boobs. These boobs are giant. When you put these things on, the boobs are
immediately
giant.
He's on the porn.
Way too many boobs everywhere. I think that they definitely did a good job, again, showing just how much software that they have, like, coming to their system. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of it was third party, you know, but they owned it for that press conference. One game we haven't talked about is Sekiro.
Yeah.
Shadows Die Twice. The next game,
yeah.
The next game from. And I got to see that game. I actually got to play it for a few minutes. And it's rad. It's like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, but you could actually scurry around on rooftops. So I could actually do that in VR right now. I could just kind of.
So there's a lot more mobility than you would get in a Bloodborne game.
A lot more mobility, and you could jump, behind enemies and kind of deal with the levels in different ways. Most of those games, you're kind of on a fixed path and you're just kind of stuck on the ground. This added a whole shinobi element to it that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Microsoft kind of owned that moment. So, like, I found myself at the show when I was playing a lot of these games realizing, wow, there's a ton of stuff coming to the system. Like, maybe not all of it exclusive. The exclusive stuff that they showed I thought was all pretty good. It just maybe didn't have as much, again, sexiness, like Forza Horizon, not as sexy as Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it bad. It just makes it not as kind of wild. So I'm going to go with the 7.5 for them as well. I think it was, again, a solid showing from them. A little disappointing we didn't get more out of Halo, a little more out of Gears 5.
Right.
But not a bad show. What
about yourself, Steve?
Well, I think it sort of says something that we're talking about the most interesting games on Xbox being third party.
Yeah.
You know, that they did own the Cyberpunk reveal and they did own the Sekiro reveal. But yeah, I mean, for first parties, for exclusives, that's where they're really still falling down.
Yeah.
And we just saw a sliver of a Halo Tech demo. We saw a cinematic Gears trailer. I mean, I like the fact that they're expanding the Gears universe a bit. I'm stoked for Gears Tactics, man. Give me a Gears XCOM game. I'll play the crap out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love the commitment to indie. And, Forza Horizon 4, going into E3, I'm like, Borza, Horizon, Bor, man. I don't want it.
Borza, Horizon.
Spoken like a true writer. Real wordsmith.
But they had a great demo. It was actually a really smart demo. It's a demo that because one of the big selling points of Forza Horizon 4 is the change of seasons. The demo takes you through 4 seasons in 3 different vehicles and really seamlessly shifts between them. It was a great demo. It got me jazzed for Forza. I haven't been jazzed for a Forza game in ages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fact is, some of these third-party games are still going to play better on Xbox, right? Like, it is still, the Xbox One X is still the most powerful home console available. So, I mean, if you're dying to get the best Assassin's Creed Odyssey experience with the best, well, I would say Cyberpunk. Who knows what'll be this gen?
Yeah.
That's the console you're going to go towards. But in terms of their first-party stuff, in terms of the exclusive stuff, in terms of the stuff that makes me want to choose an Xbox or a PS4 or a Switch, I don't think they really sold it that well. I don't think they had enough to sell it at E3 that well. A good showing, a solid showing, a good variety of games. So 7.5.
Yeah, I think the idea that they were so strongly invested in their third-party partnerships is something that both Nintendo and Sony fell down a little bit on. I think that they needed to go a little bit deeper with those relationships and show off a little bit more of the third-party support than they were able to, or chose not to, because I feel like Sony's sitting in the hot bird seat. They're so far ahead with their install base, and they're invested so heavily in these exclusives, and they're bringing them out to the world. But I did like that. But I think what was strongest is the sort of future message from Phil and Xbox for what's to come. Of course, we don't know what that is, and we can't play it, And so it's not like any one of the three this year really ran away with all the marbles. It's not like you can point at them and go, "This was so clearly the much better press conference," and they all had something to be happy about. And I think this was the strongest in terms of their commitment to the future from Xbox that I've ever seen, because the investment in these new studios really speaks volumes. So I was excited about all that, and I think you're dead on the money, Steve, with there not being enough reachable first-party stuff to be excited about. And we all know how disappointing the previous sort of run-up of first-party stuff has been, unfortunately, we like Sea of Thieves just didn't deliver as much as we wanted. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with that ReCore, all this stuff, but hopefully the future is much brighter for Xbox. I think that their press conference speaks to that. I'm gonna give them a 7.5. I feel like Sony still won this year because of their exclusive stuff, but they didn't take it to the extremes like they have in previous years.
No Dead Cells.
Yeah, and they didn't have Dead Cells, so they get the big thumbs down from Foobs. I think that if anybody's got a PC and they're playing PC stuff, they automatically win. Because they get the whole collection.
You get everything. You get all.
Yeah, they get it all. All right, gentlemen, we are going to move on, but that was a nice, lengthy discussion about E3 2018. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. We're definitely going to do something like this again soon, and maybe we'll be playing some of these damn games that were promised to us.
2020.
Yes.
We're gonna play with Steve.
We're gonna
just to make him feel better. Just fall out, makes Steve feel better.
I think he'll play with me like in, I don't know.
Well, we're gonna play with you and
Look at objects.
Steve
Steve
2000. Thank you for joining me, guys. You all rock. Have yourselves an awesome day, and we'll see you all very soon. Okay.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Lovely.
All right,
Lovely
let's
friends.
move on.
Bye,
We've got a
guys.
great, brand new buried treasure for you. Today's buried treasure is a Ratchet and Clank game, and to that you say, what? All the Ratchet and Clank games have been big hits, I thought, but one of them definitely wasn't. Full Frontal Assault was Insomniac's take on the tower defense genre, using their beloved Ratchet and Clank characters and many of the other supporting cast from the Ratchet and Clank games, and it was definitely a little bit of an underwhelming experience. Didn't rate very well. I don't think we loved it on Reviews on the Run, but it did addict me. It did get its hooks into me, and this was right around the time when the iPhone gaming was just, a fountain of great tower defense experiences, and we were playing tower defense stuff all the time, and we're just hooked on the genre, as I'm sure designers at Insomniac were, and they said, well, we could make something like that too. And of course, they used all of the great assets and a lot of the camera angles and the functionality that we've come to know and love in Ratchet and Clank, but now you had to take over nodes, and you had to augment them, and you had to beef them up, and you had waves and waves of enemies that you had to take out, and it offered a pretty decent but brief single-player experience. But the really great value in this game was getting into some cooperative play or some competitive play with friends, and taking on the opposing force as a human, and you're commanding troops, and you're sending out all kinds of great weaponry. Insomniac has given us so many fantastic weapons in this franchise, and it was just fun to see the escalation and the animation and the real sense of detail that Insomniac is really well known for. I feel like this game is definitely worth a look back at because the perspective and the distance from it has warmed it in my heart. But I also feel like Insomniac was onto something here, and it would be cool for the company to revisit this, maybe augment it, add some extra material to this. I think, this would never come to the Switch, but it's just unfortunate that Sony hasn't announced another portable, console. It'd be great on a new version of the Vita or I keep wanting them to make a PS4 Switch, but that's likely not going to happen. But a game like Full Frontal Assault could find new life. That's why Ratchet and Clank Full Frontal Assault is a buried treasure. All right, guys, we are back, and we are jumping right into Let's Play and Chat because we went a little bit long with our E3 conversation, but that's the way it goes when you have awesome fellows like Ben Silverman, Steve Tilley, and Jose Sanchez joining us. I'm playing a little bit of the Lego Incredibles game, and I'm going to shoot a review for Lego Incredibles 2 tomorrow, or the Incredibles 2, which I saw on the weekend. I'll shoot it tomorrow, so we've got it in a show very soon for you. But this is basically as my discussion with Arthur Parsons. Actually, I don't think we ran that yet. But we basically are in the middle of both movies in this one, which is really cool. You guys know I'm a big Lego fan. Blake is going to join me. Let me know how the sound is on the game and make sure that you can hear me okay. I can turn the audio down if you need me to.
No, that's good.
It's all good? Okay, cool. And we're going to run around inside of the city and solve some crimes as the Incredibles. And we'll probably play for good
I don't have a chair there.
15 or 20 minutes. Just take the Intellivision off of it. There you go. Boom. All right, here we go. All right. So Taz said Tyler Fisher said, I was really hoping that you'd be on stage with Kind of Funny or GameSpot. Kept hoping. We were running around doing our regular interviews and things like that this year. There's a lot of different press and a lot of different media and a lot of friends and stuff like that. So I never, I get invited to some things. I don't get invited to other things. It's all good. I've been doing this a long time. EP just always does its own thing when we're down there. We don't waste our time, and we get lots of good stuff. I was interviewed for a documentary that might be coming to Netflix. And it would be really cool if it does, so I'll keep you posted on that. I can't really reveal too much more than that, but it was nice to be asked for that. I spent an hour doing that, which was weird because you give up precious time that you have to go run around and get interviews or get some hands-on time with the titles, but it was really cool to be asked, and it's going to be a big production, so that was rad.
Vic, have you played Fortnite on the Switch yet?
I have not. I downloaded it. I downloaded that and Hollow Knight and Incredibles, Lego Incredibles, and picked up a couple of other titles as well. The Switch is packed. There's a lot of new software that just hit it right at E3. So I'm running around as Mr. Incredible. Frozone is joining me. I think I'm chasing after this guy. Plays a little bit like Lego City Undercover.
How much of this have you played already?
Not much. I played the first mission, fighting the Underminer directly from the beginning of Incredibles 2. For anybody that hasn't seen it, Incredibles 2 lifts off from the last second of the first Incredibles movie, and that's how they start the game, which is kind of cool.
Is this a mission? What mission is this movie from?
This is the open world element. So somebody has stolen some ice cream. I'm returning some ice cream. So the whole thing about the Incredibles, compared to the DC stuff and the Marvel stuff, is that it's definitely more family friendly. And even though it gets intense a little bit, it's never too crazy. So I returned some ice cream to a kid right there.
Taz is asking, when will Vampire Review go live?
Live? I
said love.
Love. We will love to put it up on the channel very soon. I actually shot it this morning, and it just needs to be cut and posted. So we're not doing EP Live tomorrow, which means that Blake will have a little bit of editing time. And so we've got a bunch of stuff, so we just have to kind of choose. And we don't try to throw all of the videos up at the same time unless we do an EP Live like this. So we'll figure out.
We'll probably do it tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure out when the next batch of things.
Oh, why are you punching Frozone?
I pressed the X button too quickly.
Can you play as Frozone?
Yeah, of course.
Can you use his ice powers?
There are 113 characters in this. Frozone's awesome.
That's pretty cool. How high up can you go with his?
I don't think I can fly.
Because he is kind of hovering right now.
I know. I was trying to figure out if I can go up with the. I can't. But he is pretty rad, and I think he shoots snowballs too.
Tyler Fisher's asking, did you have an overall great time down in LA?
I had an amazing time. It was one of my favorite E3s. In terms of software, I did feel disconnected from friends. I felt like we kept running into people, but they were way more spread out than every other year, which I kind of brought up in our long conversation there. But that bummed me out a little bit, but then I did see friends and had a great chat, and also ran into a lot of viewers that watched the content and said hello to a bunch of people, which is great. And then played incredible games. Like we are clearly at the end of the life cycle on these consoles, and the software is phenomenal.
Tiago Santos is asking, did you see Shenmue 3 at E3?
No, did not see Shenmue 3, did not see the Avengers, did not see Metroid Prime 4.
But like, yeah, obviously it wasn't at the conference, but you didn't see it like behind closed doors
did
or
not,
anything?
Didn't see it. I went to a couple of Sega events, and it wasn't there either. Yeah, it was weird.
Or no, it's not being published by Sega though.
Oh, it's
Shenmue
true.
3.
That's true.
Who's it being published by?
Well, I think it's owned by Sega, so I would.
No, it's being published by the new
It's
company.
PlayStation?
I think it's Deep Silver.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Sega is re-releasing the first two though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they signed away the rights for the third game.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how it works, but they're not publishing it.
Okay.
Uh,
I did play another Yakuza game.
Taz, any hands-on time with Skull and Bones?
Yeah, and it didn't rock my world. I guess I should have. Good question. Didn't rock my world. It was beautiful, but it felt like it was very repetitive, and it was really just meant to kind of show you the action of sailing the pirate ship and blasting the cannons and stuff. And I did some awesome damage, and I dug that. I was destroying forts and ships and looting them and stuff like that. But one thing I found curious is that the off the ship content was really just tapping a button and sort of watching quick cutscenes. You're not really in control of characters or anything, and I really hope that you do get to play as these characters. That would make it very much like a Black Flag experience again, but that's what I want. And so if it's just going to be ships and then cutscenes in between the ships, I think that will be a bit of a missed opportunity.
Johnny,
and if it is that, then that leaves a big opening still for Sea of Thieves.
Johnny McFly is asking, what did you think of Death Stranding gameplay reveal?
I
guess we kind of talked about
cool.
it. Did you not watch our live stream?
Yeah, we talked about it in the live stream, but yeah, it looked cool. It looks weird. It looked empty until Norman Reedus kind of figures out he's got to look at things from a different perspective. So it looked like a lot of lonely walking across this desolate landscape kind of thing, but I think they've got a sweet engine, and they're going to have weird, cool cutscenes, and I love Norman Reedus as a performer. I like the other actors that they're hiring. I'm psyched.
And they have a lot of licensed music that gets flagged on YouTube.
True that, yeah.
Thanks for that, Sony. And Ubisoft, too.
Yeah.
Although we already ranted about that last week, so I don't think we need to...
No. So I'm saving Pedestrians. I think we're going to go and... Okay, save that one. Everyone's a Hero, 1 out of 10. So it's got an autosave. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's one other thing over here. Let's see what this is.
Is this game out already?
Yeah, it's come out already.
It came out
on
in
Friday.
time with the movie,
yeah.
right.
And the movie came out. I can tell you guys what I thought of the flick, but it's not really like a big review. But it was very good. It was a very strong Pixar movie. It was not their best movie. And it wasn't the Incredibles movie that I had hoped for 15 years or 14 years. But it was still very fun, because I think that company has a tough time making movies that aren't fun. But I feel like it should have been stronger. But I'm happy for Disney and Pixar that it's doing so well, because I want more. I love these characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's never as good as the movie you have in your head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you've been waiting that long for it.
Yeah, totally. And there are tons of brand new characters that are introduced, which I'm sure are the ones that are in this game, which I'm psyched about. So we're covering a stolen ice cream truck. This is not in the movie, by the way, so we're not spoiling anything. We're just on missions with Frozone and Mr. Incredible. One of my favorite things about the movie is that there are theme songs that are crafted for Elastigirl and Frozone and Mr. Incredible, and they did a great job with all that.
Like theme songs within the movie itself?
Yeah, that are based on like a prior TV thing that they had or something like that.
Okay.
when superheroes were legal, but they become illegal through the course of events of the first Incredibles movie and this one. So that's fun.
Yeah, because it all is a 60s and 50s aesthetic, right?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
I loved all that.
Question from Samian111.
Yeah.
What game did you hope to see most at this E3 that was not shown?
Metroid. Yeah, I was really shocked that we didn't see Metroid. I was shocked that we didn't get the Metroid or the Star Fox racing experience. I was shocked we didn't get Splinter Cell. But Metroid, I wanted them to show us some gameplay. Absolutely.
Yeah, Splinter Cell was surprising because like that leaked ahead of time, right? Maybe they'll announce it at, I don't know, something else this year. Maybe it's not out this year. Maybe they delayed it.
It's not, but Assassin's Creed sure is.
But yeah, Metroid, we should have seen a trailer at least for that. Gameplay, obviously not, but yeah, there should have been a trailer because we got a trailer a year ago. Jordan Cunningham, question. Hey, did you see in the PlayStation press conference that Black Ops 3 is now free in the PlayStation Plus for June to July?
Oh, I did not. That's great.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, the Game Pass announcements were pretty solid too about faster downloads, and I think
is that a Sony thing?
That's the Xbox one.
Oh, right.
And the fact that they're doing so many of the games. This is how you get new characters.
Oh, we have that.
Yeah,
we have a character.
At Nemo. Okay, I'm an ice cream. I'm Brain Freezer Monster Goon added to the collection. I don't know if I'd ever want to play that character.
Oh, you unlocked an ice cream character.
Yeah.
Didn't they say that they made characters for the game?
Yes,
that
they
might
did.
be one of them, right?
Yeah. Oh, right. They have other Pixar movie characters in this game as well, which we haven't unlocked yet.
Do you know which ones they are?
Like Monsters Inc. and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm so psyched if this Lego James Bond news is true, which it sounds like it is, but the fact that a game's coming, I can...
Would it be a game or just toys?
Well, they're going to do the toys, and if they do well, then, you
I don't know, it seems weird to me, because James Bond is such an adult-oriented franchise.
But yes,
like, you can't really sit down with your little kid and play a James Bond game, right?
I mean, you can now with the older ones.
You'd have to clean it up a lot.
Yeah, you got to clean it up a lot. Yeah. But they did it with Mission Impossible and Lego Dimensions.
And how's James Bond? How are you gonna shoot someone in a kids game?
They have guns in the kids games.
Do they?
Yeah.
Even in like Lego games?
Mm-hmm.
And like what happens? You just shoot them and
they break apart. They're toys. So it's the kidified version of it, just by the nature of the fact that they're little plastic characters.
Yeah. You know, that would make sense too, because Warner Brothers is the new distributor of the movies.
Is it really?
Didn't Warner Brothers get the rights? Because there was a bidding war. Because Sony's distribution rights expired. Because it's made by Eon Productions,
right?
And they always partner with the distributor.
Yeah.
I thought it was Warner Brothers that beat Sony in the bidding
look at
war.
this. I'm Dory.
Oh, you got Dory? But yeah, it would make sense if they do Lego now, because Warner Brothers does all the Lego. They own TT Games.
That's awesome if that's happening. I know that the TT folks have wanted to do this forever. Because he's a cultural icon in the UK, right? Yeah. It just makes so much sense. You're kidifying a series that is really dark, but they've done that with Batman. Batman is a mature-rated character in a lot of ways.
But with Batman, there's a lot of kid versions of Batman already.
Well, James Bond needs that too, especially when you're talking about a generational
James Bond
thing.
Jr.?
Yeah, for sure.
What was that animated show? Was it called James Bond Jr.?
Yeah, they've done that.
It was like his nephew or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even James Bond, it's a T-rated thing in a world where Jason Bourne is definitely an R-rated thing, you know? Like, there's real...
Yeah, but it's different, because, like, you look at a PG-13 movie like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
That's about dinosaurs, right? You can see how you can make a dinosaur movie for kids.
Right.
Or take a PG-13 movie about dinosaurs and make it into something for kids.
Right.
Right? James Bond is different. He's shooting people, he's having sex, he's drinking. But it's harder to make that into a kid franchise.
I mean, he is shooting people, and he is fighting, and they did get darker with the more recent Daniel Craig stuff. But he's also fought characters like Jaws, you know, and they went to move to space.
But even
in
in
Moonraker.
those movies, he's having sex and
Yeah.
throwing people off roofs, and like if I had like a 6-year-old kid,
I mean,
I wouldn't want them to watch James
when
Bond.
I was a kid, that's when I got into James Bond. When I was about 7 or 8.
I didn't start getting into James Bond until I was about 10 or 11.
Okay.
So I think it's a slightly older kid
Sure.
thing. I don't know. Like a 4-year-old could play this. A 4-year-old
Right.
probably couldn't play a James Bond game.
Which is fine. Lego ages up.
I guess that's fine. Yeah, that's a good point.
And there's a lot of AFOLs, adult fans of Lego,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
I am psyched. I'll be buying the James Bond sets, and I will be happily playing the James Bond thing. So this does spoil a little bit of the movie stuff here.
Oh.
Okay,
I
what's
have a
up?
good question from
Yeah.
Darkstorm, asking about the flashing lights in the movie.
Yeah, there are flashing lights in the movie. They've had to put a strobe
Because people with
warning.
epilepsy
That's
are
right.
freaking out.
We also had a so there is definitely this really intense scene. We had a super chat, and I forgot to say thank you.
Yeah.
But thank you
I can
so
find
much.
out. I'll find out the person's
Yes,
name right now.
that's super cool. Thank you very much.
Super chat's name was Starving Gamer.
Starving Gamer. That's crazy that you're starving and you super chatted us. Thank you so much.
You should have
You
spent that
rock.
money on a sandwich.
I mean, there's spy elements in this franchise too. That's one of the reasons why I love The Incredibles. So this guy, I'll explain it really quickly, and I won't try not to spoil. But he's a fan, and he wants to. Here's some of the new superheroes. This is great. They're introducing these characters out of sequence with the way the movie does. But that's Void. She's like from Portal, which is great. She creates portals.
My superhero name is Boyd.
I am called Brave. I'm
Screech is an owl, which is awesome. But this guy's a fan of superheroes, and he wants to change public perception. And so
Bob
he works with
Odenkirk's in the
Incredibles.
movie, right? Bob Odenkirk voices him in the...
Which one, Screech?
no, the business guy.
Oh, does he?
It's Saul from
Okay,
Breaking
well,
Bad,
he's
right?
great. Did Vic read the newest James Bond comics? Can't remember who published them, but they were good. No, I haven't. I want to read those, though. Maybe I should, and I'll review them for you guys.
Comment from Jordan Cunningham in Lego Marvel Black Widow shoots 2 guns. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not a gun. It's still not a gun-centric thing. The Avengers. Do you know when Gears Tactics is coming out?
Don't know who asked that.
Jordan Cunningham.
Jordan Cunningham. No, I don't know that. This is a sequence right from the flick, and it's an amazing sequence. It's probably my favorite in the thing. The one great thing about the movie is that Elastigirl gets a lot of love and a lot of limelight, which is fantastic. I have about 5 minutes, guys, and then I gotta call it. So 5 more minutes on this.
Not all the hover train track is filled. There's about
Oh,
25
this is
miles.
great.
This
Look at how
station
fast she's
won't
riding.
last long.
And it's full of passengers? Great time for it to malfunction.
Oh, that's great. This is cool.
We're getting drones?
Now, I haven't seen any of this gameplay, so this is all brand new for me.
Want me to save this train?
My little gadget should take care of them for you.
Yeah, her bike scene in
Yeah.
the movie is fantastic.
Do you have a gun?
I don't think I do.
Oh,
Oh, I do. Okay, now I do.
You can do this.
Is
Look
this a
at this.
sequence in the film?
Yeah, it's so good.
That slowed me down. Gotta keep going.
What is that From Software game called again? It's
Sakura or
Sekiro.
yeah, something like that.
We didn't really see any gameplay of it, right?
No,
Just
we
saw
asked
the-
at Activision, and they didn't let us do a hands-on, but Ben must have sweet talked them, and he got a hands-on.
Yeah, Activision wasn't really showing much this year. It was Destiny and Call of Duty, and that was it.
And we got hands-on with Call of Duty,
Yeah.
and then the Spyro collection, which I'm psyched for, but wasn't psyched for the line. Whoa!
Oh, there's a good comment from Mondo Blasto, because we had a Lego Indiana Jones game.
Yeah.
And Indiana Jones is very comparable to James Bond.
Right.
So, yeah, if that works, then a James Bond game can work.
James Bond totally works, man. If James Bond was M-rated, it would not work, but it's so T-rated.
Well, I wouldn't think it'd be M-rated. I was just, it's just
It's-
the
I mean,
con.
the books are.
Wise.
The idea of Bond is M-rated,
Yeah, but that's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
but the movies are definitely not. They're meant for families.
These are all good points.
Yeah.
Tyler Fisher is psyched for Nioh 2.
Neo 2.
2, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna rock. Platinum had a great showing at E3 for sure. Capcom was fantastic too. The Resident Evil 2 demo that they had, I don't know if you guys watched my talk about going, that was in the rundown, where I walked through the maze of the police station.
Yeah, I showed the footage a couple times
That
in
was
the
great.
E3 chat as well. Yeah. Capcom, and then Dying Light 2 had a similar thing, but it was like one hallway. It was really lame. They're like, you have to walk through the dark zone before you can get
that
this
was a
demo.
good demo. We didn't talk about Dying Light 2. That was a good demo too.
Yeah. Oh, should we talk about some of the swag we got at E3?
Chris Avalon was there, showing that off.
What was your favorite swag from E3, Vic? Was it the rubber ducky USB?
I liked getting the you brought your Switch to E3 button at Nintendo. That was pretty cool. Because I did bring my Switch to
I didn't get one of those.
You didn't bring your Switch?
But I want a button. I had too much shit to pack already. I didn't have room for
you were militant. The Dying Light folks handed me a backpack with a...
You gotta be ruthless. Yeah, so I don't take swag unless...
And then he just gave it back.
I don't take swag unless I really want it, because you gotta carry that shit around all day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the Dying Light people were handing out backpacks, and I was like, well, it's a nice backpack, thank you, but I don't really want to carry it. And then I have to take it on a plane, and I already have 2 bags. Like, I can't take a 3rd bag with me. Like, where am I gonna put this?
So this is Elastigirl's moves.
If I could just take the backpack and like make it really tiny and put it in my pocket, then I would take it. But yeah, when you gotta carry stuff all day.
It had a phone charger in it, which I've already used.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Shit, maybe I should have kept it.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, if I didn't already have a whole bunch of T-shirts and stuff to carry, I would have. We got Resident Evil shirts; those were pretty cool.
Yeah, those are red.
Can I show those? They're over here. I'm gonna show it.
Something's wrong. It's like they're hypnotized. Soon the whole city will be under my control.
What is this hat from? So we got these hats. Is this Just Cause?
Oh, Rico Rodriguez, Just Cause 4, yeah.
So that's a Just Cause hat, and then we got these Resident Evil 2 shirts at Capcom.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, these are cool.
Okay, so we're fighting these brain-controlled characters.
And then we got a whole bunch of other like USB sticks and stuff. And Vic got his Dying Light backpack.
I am going to pause it there, because I got to wrap it up. Well, I'll just do this. Just pause it there. But I will stream some more because my daughter wants to play some more with me, so I'll just stream some of that on my Twitch channel. So stay tuned for that. But that's going to wrap us up for EP Live today.
Bye, everyone.
We are going to be back with a new EP Live on Wednesday. Tomorrow, it's going to be the rundown and some other content that we're going to put together. But we have so much material that we've shot, and of course, we're shooting new things. I've also been inundated with a lot of new games to review and stuff, too. So stay tuned for that. But that wraps us up. Make sure you check out all of the E3 content we've been putting together. Thank you so much to my guests, Ben Silverman, Jose Sanchez, and Steve Tilley. If you dig our stuff, don't forget to hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too. Thanks for watching, everybody. Play forever.